are coming on the air tonight with a shooting here in Washington, just blocks from the White House. People scrambled off the North Lawn. What we know about this incident involving the Secret Service not far from the National Mall. Then the new details on the deadly car ramming in Germany. What police say about the moment a car plowed into a crowd in a busy street there, killing at least 2 people. Then what we're hearing from on board that cruise ship, not allowed to dock tonight, with passengers stuck now because of a rare rodent virus outbreak that has killed at least 3 people. We've got more on that in a minute. And then some breaking news in just the last half hour. You know that blowout legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni? It ends with a settlement. We've got more on why in just a minute. Plus, some of the biggest stars in the world set to make their way up the Met steps in just about an hour from now. But what about the Bezos backlash? A look at the protests that could play a role in fashion's biggest night, with our look ahead at the Met Gala coming up later in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie. A lot to get to tonight, and a lot of it developing kind of late here. Starting with that breaking news in Washington, the Secret Service says there was an officer-involved shooting just steps from the Washington Monument. Want to show you the map here. So this is the corner of Independence and 15th Street. So it's not super close to the White House, but it's not super far from it. It's right off the National Mall there. And I want to show you what the scene looked like in the last couple of minutes. D.C. police, looks fairly quiet at the moment, but they still want people to avoid the area. They've closed it all off. And this did have an impact to the White House. The Secret Service ended up evacuating the North Lawn. Our Monica Alba was there when it happened. Mon, tell us more, because, you know, it's not unheard of, but it's not very common at all that they'd shut down the North Lawn like that.
Yeah, I have to tell you, Hallie, a handful of times I have experienced that, but typically the Secret Service agents, when they're notifying you that you need to move from this very camera position into the West Wing, they sort of tell you with a firmness, but not a sense of urgency like the one that we saw today, where certain agents did have some long guns drawn and were ushering us in, almost encouraging us to run inside. And of course, we didn't know why at the time, but we are learning more information. And Hallie, I just got a message alerting me that the Secret Service just put out a little bit more information. There are a couple of details we know, but they are just sharing publicly that this incident, which you're seeing there on your screen at 15th Street and Independence Avenue, so closer to the Washington Monument than here to the White House, that this incident, quote, resulted from a confrontation between an armed individual and Secret Service police. So these are the kinds of agents who you would see around some of these very significant landmarks here in Washington, certainly here at the White House and beyond that. And what we know is that at least one person has been transported to a local hospital. It is unclear in what condition they are in. And again, it's unclear, Hallie, how these shots were fired, who initiated the shots, how was this person hit, what was this person doing? All of that is still unknown. But what we do know is that that area that you are showing on your screen has been locked down for blocks and a significant amount in each direction as this investigation begins to unfold. Again, so to set the scene here at the White House where we are, President Trump was about to start an event, remarks at a small business-focused gathering in the East Room, and that had already been a little bit delayed before this incident took place, and we were waiting for him to come out and speak when this happened, when then they moved us inside to the West Wing. And about 5 minutes or so after that, the president did enter the East Room and began his event without anything, and certainly making no mention of that shooting as we were just learning about it in real time. Hallie.
That's right. No impact to the president, to the interior of the White House there. It was sort of business as usual. As you note, as the Secret Service says that one individual was shot by law enforcement. Monica Alba, come back when you learn more. I know you will. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being with us tonight. To Germany now, in a deadly car ramming there. Police say at least 2 people were killed after a driver plowed into a crowd on a busy street in the eastern part of the country. At least 2 other people were badly hurt. There's a huge police presence. Look at this. We'll show you the video. The smashed car, you can see it there on the left side of your screen. At this point, we still have a lot of questions, including any kind of motive. And you can see some new video of a man on the ground being put in handcuffs in the moments after the crash. I want to bring in Raf Sanchez, who's covering this for us. Busy road, big crowd, some 20 other people affected, in the words of law enforcement and officials there. We don't know yet what that means.
Yeah, Hallie, so this happened really right in the center of the city of Leipzig. It's in eastern Germany. It happened a little bit before 5 p.m. There were a lot of people out and about when that white SUV just went careening into the crowd. Now, in the last little bit, we are starting to learn a little bit more about the alleged perpetrator. He was arrested behind the wheel of that white Volkswagen SUV. And German authorities are saying that he's 33 years old. He is a German citizen. And at this stage, we do not know much about his motives. We do know 2 people were killed, at least 2 others severely wounded, and as you noted, 20 others affected. That's possibly shock. It might be minor injuries from people who sort of tripped and fell running away from the scene, but it sounds like it was at least 4 people who took the direct impact of that car. I want to play you just a little bit of sound from the mayor of Leipzig speaking about the situation in his city. Take a listen.
I am deeply shocked and can only express my solidarity with the victims' families and note with dismay that 2 people have lost their lives as a result of such an act, which remains incomprehensible to this day and probably always will be.
And Hallie, this would be shocking under any circumstances, but this is the 4th car ramming attack in Germany in less than 2 years. You might remember there was that big attack at a Christmas market in a city called Magdeburg back in 2024. And then there were 2 in rapid succession, one in Munich, one in Mannheim in February and March of last year. So Germany, this is a grimly familiar pattern. What we have seen among these different attacks is a very wide variety of motives. One of them, back in 2016, was carried out by someone who had pledged allegiance to ISIS. We've seen far-right extremists involved, and in other cases, we have seen people with very severe mental health issues. I will say, Hallie, there are very strict privacy laws in Germany, and so authorities often don't release a whole lot of detail about these suspects, and so it may be some time before we get a better sense of a motive here. Hallie.
Okay, Raf Sanchez, thank you very much. Also tonight, you've got President Trump out with this new threat against Iran. He told Fox News in an interview that Iran's going to be, in his words, blown off the face of the earth if it attacks U.S. ships trying to guide other ships through the Strait of Hormuz. That's right after the U.S. said it has blown up Iranian helicopters and boats in response to some Iranian attacks in the strait. All of it really, but if you're like, well, so does that mean the ceasefire is over or still intact? Your guess is probably as good as anybody else's at this point. It's not clear, but here's what we do know. The impact of this war, the impact of the strait being effectively paralyzed here, having a major effect on gas prices, up nearly 50% since the war started. In one part of California, yep, it's official, $7 a gallon. You see it there. Now, listen, California's already got higher gas prices to begin with, but how about Indiana? How about the Midwest? In Indiana, the average cost for a gallon is up $1 just in the last week. So think about that. A week ago, you went to gas up your car. Now it costs $1 more. All across the country, people are telling our team that the rising prices are really hurting them.
It's horrible. I know I can't deal with it.
So it sucks. Unfortunately, I think we're getting close to the point where people aren't going to be able to do it anymore.
For people who got to go to work and landscapers and whatnot, it's got to be crazy.
I want to bring in Maggie Vespa, who's posted up in Chicago outside a gas station. It's Kentucky, it's Ohio seeing the biggest increases in gas prices since this war began. California gets the attention, $7. I mean, but we know California's already got expensive gas. That's why I'm interested in what's going on where you are.
I know. It feels like the West Coast impact is really hitting like America's heartland. We're talking about a couple counties suddenly in Kentucky, another one in Ohio that, according to an NBC News analysis, prices there have gone up close to 90% since the war in Iran began. Here in Chicago, it's gone up close to 60 cents citywide just in the last week, $5.79 a gallon here at this station in the city where I'm at. The reason why it's hitting the Midwest so hard is kind of multifaceted. Number one, obviously, the Strait of Hormuz remaining closed amid the war in Iran. That's hitting everyone nationwide. Number two, there's a second specific factor, a couple of issues at a couple of key refineries, specifically one BP refinery in Whiting, Indiana, a major one, especially for this part of the country, that went down over the weekend due to an outage. We've been out to BP all day. They said it was an electrical outage, a systemic issue that has now been resolved. The refinery's back up and running, but it sent prices soaring, specifically here in the Midwest, up into like Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, you name it. Everyone here we've talked to said they've absolutely noticed it. A lot of them
not filling up their tanks anymore, putting in like $10 to $15 at the most, and just trying to get by with as little gas, honestly, as they can. Here's one woman we heard from.
I'm a mom of 4 kids and I run my family. I'm a single mom and it's crazy. So definitely I am cutting down on my groceries, I'm just sticking up to very essential ones, but being a mom and I need them. But it's hard. It's hard to maintain my grocery list.
And I mean, that's the universal truth, right? Is that everybody says I need to drive. So kind of what else can I cut back on? What trips can I cut back on? Hallie, I'll just leave you with this. Right now, the average here in Illinois is 50 cents above the national average for the price for a gallon of gas. So the Midwest really is kind of feeling that West Coast effect right now. It's weird.
But here's the other piece that's a real pinch for folks, is that this may be just the first wave. Experts have predicted there's another wave of things getting more expensive beyond just your gas. We're talking groceries, etc.
Totally. I mean, gas prices are kind of like the canary in the coal mine as far as our economy is concerned. And in fact, one expert called it the opening act to these potential tidal waves of price increases really across our economy. So think basically everything else, whether it's being affected by the cost of a gallon of gas when it comes to goods being delivered across the country. So you think of clothes, you think of shoes, you think of groceries, you think of prescription medicines. All of those things, experts say, could be part of this kind of second wave of price increases, and they really kind of play out over the course of months. One economist basically saying by the end of the summer is when we could really see all of this sort of hit at once, saying that perhaps it could collide with the incredibly busy back-to-school shopping season hitting these families, Hallie, even harder.
Maggie Vespa live for us there in Chicago. Maggie, thank you. Let's take you to Oklahoma now, where police are trying to figure out who started shooting at a campground party with 12 people now in the hospital. Here's some audio from dispatch as this whole thing was going down.
There's a shooting. There's going to be multiple victims. One with the gun to the head.
This is video that seems to show the party before the shooting happened. Officials say in all, some 23 people were hurt. Ryan Chandler has made his way to the scene. He's on the ground for us in Edmond. What else do we know, Ryan?
Well, Hallie, almost everything that we're learning about the terrifying scenes that played out in this campground behind me, we're learning from people who were actually there. I just spoke with 3 young people, 18 and 19 years old, who told us that they were at this party with some 250 other young people. This was advertised at a come one, come all public event that was going to go until midnight. But you hear the gunshots ring out just about after 9 o'clock local time. And that's when these people say that they scattered. One young man told me he actually ran into the lake in order to escape the gunfire. They describe a chaotic and terrifying scene as they continue to pull for so many of their friends who are in the hospital tonight. Here's what one young man told me.
It was honestly horrifying. Like, you know, it's something that nobody really wants to see. I thought about it all last night. I barely even slept. Like, it's just so much blood everywhere. So many people hurt, innocent people. Like, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, they say this started with an altercation between other partygoers, but they just say it's so tragic that it became violent with gunfire. Hallie, this is also coming as we don't know who fired these shots yet. Police are still searching for suspects as still people try to recover in the hospital tonight.
Ryan Chandler, glad you're out there for us. Thank you for bringing us up to speed on that one. Let's talk about that cruise ship now dealing with the deadly outbreak of a rare rodent virus. The ship's not even allowed to dock right now. It can't get to dock. That means like 150 people are stuck on board off the coast of West Africa. One passenger is sharing this sort of scary situation, what it's like for people who are on the ship. Listen.
And what's happening right now is very real for all of us here. There's a lot of uncertainty, and that's the hardest part. All we want right now is to feel safe, to have clarity, and to get home.
You can hear the emotion in his voice in this very uncertain situation. We know that 3 people have died. 2 others are very sick. Staff on board have not been able to confirm that those sick individuals for sure have hantavirus. That's the virus that we're talking about here. Humans usually get it from infected rodents. It can be really serious. According to the CDC, about 1/3 of people who get hantavirus end up dead. Camila Bernal is joining us now. A horrific situation here. The cruise operator says the ship may try to get to a dock like around the Canary Islands. What is going on? Where does this go?
Well, Hallie, you said it. They're stuck. There's really nowhere for them to go right now because officials are saying they have to coordinate with health experts, but also with local authorities to make sure that it's safe to get this entire ship off of the board, essentially. And so what authorities are saying is that it could take some time as they continue to investigate. They say there are medical personnel on board to help the people that are currently symptomatic. And then we have a timeline, essentially, of what happened, because first it was a 70-year-old man who died. Then his wife, a 69-year-old woman, they're both from the Netherlands. She had gotten off the boat and then she dies. Then a third person dies, which is the German passenger. And there's one person who's at the hospital right now. And we know that they're the two crew members who are stuck on that ship who are symptomatic at the moment. And so, again, the big question is, did they get this before they got on the boat, or was this something that spread while they were on the boat? And authorities just trying to figure out all of this as they test to make sure that it is this virus that's impacting so many people on this ship. Hallie.
It has certainly put a spotlight, or I should say a renewed spotlight, on hantavirus. This, of course, is the virus people might remember, more common in the Southwest. Gene Hackman's wife, I believe, died from it. I think it was just about 2 years ago now, or a year ago. The transmissibility of it. I mean, I'm struck by how shaken that passenger that we showed you was. I mean, they just want to know they're safe. They can't know that right now. What are experts saying? Like, what is the transmissibility of this thing?
Yeah, so it's rare. It's usually small outbreaks. But what experts say is that when they do happen, it's about a 40% chance of death. So it is extremely serious because this could progress to the point where you die, essentially. So it is serious. But what experts are also saying is that once they determine where it is and what it is, it's easy to clean and kill the virus. So a lot of experts do believe that the people on the ship are safe, at least relatively safe at the moment. Here's what one doctor told us.
So for people who aren't on this cruise and aren't in close contact with these people, there is really no risk to them at all because it is such a confined disease and such a confined area that the risk is minimal outside of that area.
And so experts believe that the variant that infected these people is one that could result in person-to-person spread. Now, the thing is that they do have to be in very close quarters. And so now that the people that have died have been essentially taken off the boat, and then you have the more serious people also at the hospital, and then likely the two that are still symptomatic, secluded from everyone else, that's why experts say the risk is probably relatively low for the people on the ship and obviously also the people off the ship that encountered some of these passengers as they got on and off the ship. Hallie.
Camila Bernal, thank you for staying on top of this for us. Appreciate that. Also tonight, the airline, formerly known as Spirit, says everything's got to go. The last couple of hours, they told a bankruptcy court they fought, in their words, valiantly to reorganize, but they had no alternative to this, what they call orderly wind down, what everyone else would call the sudden collapse of Spirit. So if you took Spirit somewhere, zero guarantee you can get back, at least not on one of those yellow planes. As people have been finding out all weekend, even today, as they're showing up at the airport, even though they're being told, don't go to the airport.
We had to call one of our uncles so if he can help us pay for the next flight because we did not have any money.
I just waited for my next flight and it got canceled and the bags were somewhere inside the airport.
The affordableness that I was enjoying is now gone away, has been ripped from underneath of me.
Some not so subtle moves by other airlines. JetBlue, for example, reminding folks they plan to expand service out of Fort Lauderdale to 11 more cities with 24 more flights. Fort Lauderdale, of course, is or was a big hub for Spirit. They're going to also honor rewards points for some Spirit loyalty members. Let me bring in Tom Costello, who's going to join us now. OK, here's the thing. At this point, it's Monday afternoon. So if you were flying somewhere on Spirit this weekend, you probably, it's the memo, you've gotten the memo that you cannot get home. You probably bought another flight. You pay it out the nose. Maybe you got one of these deals that some of these other airlines are offering. But at this point, when do we start to see the impact, maybe across the board, considering Spirit has now shuttered? That reduces competition for other airlines. So no matter what you fly, your prices could go up.
Yeah, that's right. But in context here, Spirit is not the player it used to be, right? They only had about 1.1% of the entire domestic market. But here is the list of the most affected airports, the airports that Spirit had the biggest presence in. That includes Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Newark, Detroit, LaGuardia, Houston, Vegas, Dallas, Chicago, Atlanta, Baltimore also on that list. And so, yeah, if in and out of these cities, you're going to feel it a little bit more acutely. By the way, Atlantic City, New Jersey, 75% of their air service came from Spirit. So they're really right now struggling and hoping that they're going to get more service now from Breeze, that other low-cost carrier.
By its own acknowledgement, by what it said itself, Spirit blamed in part the rising jet fuel costs. And that is because, of course, of this war against Iran. The Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, had a different take on what is to blame for Spirit's demise. He's pointing the finger at his predecessor, Pete Buttigieg, because he denied that JetBlue merger. Watch this.
We do want choices. We do want competition. That gives us the best price as consumers. But he made the wrong call, right? If he had taken a deep dive into Spirit and into JetBlue, he would have seen that merger would have been better for customers.
Buttigieg's reaction to that is like giving a very different kind of gut check.
You know, it could be that both are true in a way. I mean, first of all, in the court filing itself today, the bankruptcy court filing, Spirit cited essentially the war and the high cost of jet fuel. They're also in their second bankruptcy. Now, is it possible that in hindsight, maybe that JetBlue merger might have saved jobs? It's possible. But keeping in mind, the Biden administration was interested and concerned about the loss of competition, driving up airfares and reducing options for passengers. You know, it may be one of those things where both sides, there's a nugget of truth to both sides here.
And Buttigieg responding, too, saying he can't lower gas prices by blurting out the names of a few Democrats. You see it here. The administration, he says, needs to stop its policies creating so much economic pain. There's also this thing. You may have come across it perhaps on your feed, Tom. I don't know if it's your algorithm, but certainly maybe some of our viewers. Spirit 2.0, this website that 88 million people allegedly have pledged, or I should say 124,000 people have pledged $88 million. How about that? There's the numbers. To fix Spirit, to try to bring Spirit back. So many people that the whole site crashed. Here's the guy who started the whole thing. He sure thinks he can pull it off.
This is a genius idea. We nationalize Spirit Airlines, owned by the people. Airlines gone. We make a new airline. Let's buy an airline.
I mean, Spirit in the sky. You heard it in the background.
I like the music.
Could this have any chance?
Listen, I doubt it, and here's why I say that. The government was talking about a $500 million essentially bailout lifeline, and the creditors said no. But keep in mind, Spirit owes a lot of companies and a lot of people a lot of money, right? Almost every one of their planes is leased. They've got to make good on all of that debt. And the creditors finally said, we can't be sure that we're going to, if they were to take the government lifeline, for example, they couldn't be sure that they would eventually get paid themselves. Bottom line here is that those creditors want this to go through bankruptcy court. They want as much money on their dollar as they can get.
All right. I mean, we'll see.
We'll see.
Tom Costello.
Stranger things. This is America. Stranger things have happened.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Tom.
You bet. All right.
We got to get to some breaking news that just came into us. I got it maybe like 45 minutes ago, not even. You know that big It Ends With Us humongous legal fight? Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, they have now come to a settlement in this years-long battle. This is just weeks before the case was going to go to trial. Here's the thing. Don't ask me how much it was for. We don't know the terms yet. Those are not public yet. But you'll remember that Lively accused Baldoni of sexual harassment during the production of their movie back in 2024. It Ends With Us. Lively also said Baldoni's production company retaliated against her after she complained about the alleged misconduct on the set of the film. Baldoni repeatedly denied Lively's claims. So here's where we are tonight. This joint statement. Interesting in and of itself, a joint statement from attorneys for Baldoni and Lively saying, in their words, we remain firmly committed to workplaces free of improprieties and unproductive environments. Let me bring in Chloe Malas. This thing was going to trial. We were going to see him at like this whole thing. So many twists and turns on this very big deal moment that ensnared sort of a who's who of Hollywood celebs.
I mean, Hallie, it really doesn't come as that much of a surprise. Why? Because this case was going to be so intense. And Blake Lively's legal team had said that they wanted 3 weeks to put their case on, not including what Baldoni's team was going to put on, which would be likely equal time. You were looking at a case that was going to dominate the summer with text messages and so much private information coming out into the public for these two major superstars. And they probably ultimately decided, Hallie, that they just didn't think it was worth it. So we don't know the details of this settlement, but I do think it's interesting that the lawyers say, quote, that they acknowledge the process presented challenges and recognize concerns raised by Ms. Lively, which deserve to be heard. But again, it's not like an admission of any sort of guilt on Baldoni's side. It's this like equal joint statement, as you pointed out.
But can I ask you a question? Like, you talk about the potential for damaging pieces of information to be revealed. And I don't know if we know the answer to this, but based on some of the observers and experts that you've talked to ahead of this, was one of them going to come out looking kind of worse than the other? Do you know what I mean? Like, was it going to be potentially more damaging to Lively or Baldoni, or we don't know?
I mean, look, we really don't know, but you were going to see a lot of the text messages between the publicist that worked on behalf of Justin Baldoni. You know, the text messages that we all saw in the New York Times that, you know, we can bury anyone, which was in reference to burying Blake Lively metaphorically, but also Blake Lively and her high-profile marriage to Ryan Reynolds, her high-profile friendship with Taylor Swift that had taken a major hit among this. Taylor Swift is getting married in New York, reportedly this summer. So you can imagine that Blake Lively was weighing all of this. They both have children. They both have families. They've both been very private amid this drama over the last year. And it probably didn't hurt the fact, Hallie here, or help, that the judge dismissed the majority of Blake Lively's claims against Justin Baldoni just a couple weeks ago. So really, this was all going to be about the smear campaign, the aiding and abetting. We were going to be hearing from Colleen Hoover, who wrote It Ends With Us, potentially co-stars of It Ends With Us, Jenny Slate, and these high-profile people were going to be taking the stand. But there was a lot that was going to come out. This was going to get so messy. And again, I've never thought that this was about money, even though Blake Lively said that she had like $100 million worth of damages. But I really think that this ultimately came down to their reputations, and they probably decided, and Blake Lively probably decided, that it would hurt her reputation more, potentially going to trial. But obviously, we're probably going to hear more in the days to come about how this all came together.
Chloe Malas, thank you very much. We'll see you a little bit later on for our look ahead at the Met Gala. Appreciate you doing double duty tonight. Coming up here on the show, the new details just into us from the assault trial of one NFL star, how he's responding to allegations he attacked a woman working for him. Plus, what the 9/11 attacks may have to do with Rudy Giuliani's hospitalization in Florida, according to his team. That's next. So what's being called the Mangione effect tonight, after prosecutors say the man accused of setting the devastating Palisades fire in California was, in their words, fixated on Luigi Mangione, the man accused of killing, of course, the United Healthcare CEO. It's not just him. A different man charged in connection to another big fire at a paper products warehouse in California allegedly compared himself to Mangione. Remember, his alleged killing, Mangione's, of the United Healthcare leader, set off a big wave of public outrage against the American health insurance industry. And it's created a kind of, I don't know, almost fandom, you could say, for Mangione himself. Look at all these are different court appearances from back last couple months Mangione has had. People show up outside with posters. Some people have like Mangione merch, basically. We've heard from court that they've sent him like little heart-shaped notes of support like this. Steve Patterson is following this story for us. And now you have others being accused of heinous crimes, citing Mangione, right? I mean, talk about the Palisades fire connection here.
Yeah, so this is, remember, 30-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht. He's accused of lighting the fire that rekindled, eventually spread into the Palisades, did billions of dollars of damage, destroyed whole neighborhoods, killed 12 people. Horrific stuff. Look, some of this we know, and this is all from this pretrial memorandum in regards to the trial that he's going to be facing. A lot of it is just about how angry he was. Prosecutors say he was really upset because of a failed romantic relationship and then therefore didn't have a companion for New Year's Eve. And remember, the guy accused, he was an Uber driver at the time of the fire. So passengers have said things like he was angry at the world, that he was driving erratically, that he was acting erratically, that he was ranting, and partially, according to this new document, partially ranting about Luigi Mangione and his trial. Part of this memorandum says that he had Google searches like free Luigi Mangione, let's kill all the billionaires, that he was really into this eat the rich sort of ethos, telling investigators when they arrested him, they asked him, hey, who would set a fire like this? And he said, that's what happens when the CEO, when people get desperate, is what he alluded to. When people are getting desperate, crimes of this nature happen. And so just sort of going off into this Mangione theory, there was also a ChatGPT search where he's sort of refining a search to make a GPT image that shows the rich watching a city burn, which, according to this document and prosecutors, almost looks exactly like what happened to the Palisades. Very stark, very startling. His attorney says this is all hooey, essentially, that none of this really fits with the profile of a person that's trying to burn a city down. He called this reason for a motive essentially not a reason for a motive, and saying that his maintains the innocence, of his client there, Hallie.
Well, what else can you tell us about some of these other cases that fall under this umbrella of the so-called Mangione effect?
Yeah, look, I mean, again, these are all tangentially related. Some of them, some of these people actually incited his name. Others are sort of just tangentially tied to it, right? So you see the first one, the Palisades fire. The second one there, remember, this is this Massachusetts woman, 2025, accused of driving to the Capitol, trying to kill GOP leaders, saying that she was on a mission and partially influenced by Mangione. The NFL shooting, that was something that prosecutors tried to tie because of the similar styling, of course, of the shooting, specifically like leaving behind sort of a breadcrumb trail for investigators, similar to what Mangione did. And then this fourth one is the one that you were talking about, this warehouse fire, $500 million worth of product burned down. The guy is filming himself burning certain products, talking about sort of the plight of capitalism and referencing sort of Mangione as the style for what he did. Of course, the U.S. attorney has come out against this, saying that these political activities that are tied or influenced by Mangione should stop. Mangione himself, even before all of this, before or right after the White House Correspondents' Dinner, his attorney released a statement saying, essentially, keep my name out of your mouth. Mangione had nothing to do with this. He does not endorse this political violence. Whether that's part, of course, of the trial, remains to be seen, as, of course, all of these people that we mentioned, the warehouse, the Palisades fire, Mangione himself, have upcoming trials in the next recent months. Hallie.
Steve Patterson, super interesting. Thank you for bringing this one to us tonight, friend. Good to see you.
You bet.
NBC News covers hundreds of other stories every day. And because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Northeast Bureau, schools in a New Jersey town were forced to close today because of, well, you're looking at it. Police say this fire started at a mattress warehouse and then spread to some other buildings Sunday. Fire is now contained, but it's still really smoky, so that's a factor that they're dealing with. Out of our Midwest Bureau, zoos across Ohio are on high alert after a string of bomb threats were called in. All of them hoaxes, police said. But officials say they're swatting incidents, basically. The Cleveland Zoo even had to be evacuated yesterday. So now the FBI is getting involved. They're looking into it. Also out of our Southern Bureau, our first look at some of the 1,500 rescued beagles looking for a new home. Animal welfare activists say they negotiated a deal to buy the dogs from a research facility in Wisconsin and send them to Florida. You might remember that's after about, several hundred protesters clashed with police a few weeks back trying to free the dogs. The activist group says it's hoping to get all these beagles adopted. They say they've gotten 700 applications already. Coming up here on the show, our team's inside look at the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. What at least one ICE employee says happened when she tried to push back on the word scumbags. That's next. Tonight, new details from workers inside ICE and the Department of Homeland Security who raised red flags that some policies could lead to picking up the wrong people as part of what the White House called the largest deportation force in U.S. history. Here's one example. An ICE employee trying to push back on ICE's demands was fired, she says, and escorted out of her office by armed guards because she says she refused to call immigrants who are alleged gang members scumbags in a press release. She shared her story with our senior Homeland Security correspondent, Julia Ainsley, who's joining us now for Julia's new book, Undue Process. And we're so glad to have you with us, Julia, as you're talking about everything in this book. One of many stories of ways that immigration enforcement behind the scenes has taken shape, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, really, Hallie, you know, I've covered immigration since 2014, but what we saw in 2025 was so different. As you know, the pace was just relentless. And people I started to speak to inside DHS said that they found a culture where it became harder and harder to push back. I even detail a time where Kristi Noem is introducing her right-hand man, Corey Lewandowski, and telling ICE leaders that they don't start arresting more people, he will rip your face off. We assume that was a metaphorical threat, but that's just the kind of culture inside. So I spoke to one woman who was a press officer. She was career. She'd worked in DHS and in government for a long time. And she says that there was a day where she said, "What if we're wrong?" And it's because she was told to use the word scumbags in a press release detailing immigrants who had been arrested for alleged gang membership. But she said, we can't really prove that they're part of the gang. What if we're wrong? She believes that this is the reason for her firing that came soon after. And she said that her termination papers said that it was for a failure to authorize a press release and a press conference. Now, people I spoke to at DHS, they didn't directly to respond to this, but they said she was fired for failure to do her job.
What about this professor you spoke with who paid a professional price, apparently, for something that he told reporters?
Yeah, that's right. There was this amazing day of access, actually, where we got to go down to ICE headquarters and interview the ICE director and learn how they were training new recruits. They wanted 10,000 new recruits by the end of the year. And that was right at the time where the raids in D.C. and Chicago had gotten to such a point where we're seeing a lot of car windows being broken. And I asked this professor who was training the new recruits, what kind of evidence do you need that someone's committed a crime before you break their window? And he said that they needed reasonable suspicion that they had broken a car window. And you can see this here on page 20 of my book. You'll see he told me, I said it was reasonable suspicion and that the person must be undocumented and the reason must be beyond their skin color or native language. That professor, Hallie, was reassigned that very afternoon for what he told reporters.
Julia Ainsley, that is just there's just a couple of things that people can find out when they read your new book, Undue Process. It comes out tomorrow. We are glad to have you here today, Julia, as I know you're up in New York promoting this thing. We appreciate you. Thank you for your reporting and for your time. Still to come, we are taking you back to New York for fashion's biggest night. It is here, and so is the controversy why the Bezos-backed Met Gala has triggered some boycotts. As you take a live look now at the carpet, there's some looks. There's some dresses. Getting into that in a second. To our original now, and for it, the first Monday in May, you know what we have to do. Take you to the Met Gala, where they are just starting to walk the carpet. Is that, I think that's Zoe Kravitz peeking through there? Did I catch a glimpse? What is our camera, like, across the street? Is that a bus walking through? I think it is. NBC, I guess we didn't get a great spot on the carpet this year, but hey, it's something. Look, okay, live stream. Here we go. Now we're closer. Very exciting. A lot of drama, a lot of looks. But did I say a lot of drama? Because there is a lot of drama. It's the celebrities turning heads, but it's also Jeff Bezos and his wife, Lauren Sanchez Bezos. That's Anna Wintour, by the way, arriving in a, I'm not going to try to describe that that dress or this one. I think it's Schiaparelli, I believe, but there's Lauren Sanchez Bezos. She and her husband, of course, making a big donation. They were named honorary chairs of the Met Gala this year, but you can see what that triggered. Calls for boycotts, subway ads hacked, and more. All of it putting a new spotlight on what happens behind the scenes of fashion's biggest night. Chloe Malas reports.
The Met Gala dubbed the Party of the Year, where the rich and famous celebrate celebrity and art and fashion too. This year, the focus not just on millionaire stars, but the event's billionaire funders. Lead sponsors, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and his wife Lauren Sanchez Bezos, named honorary co-chairs. When the announcement was made that they donated a reported $10 million to the museum's Costume Institute, the backlash was swift, with some accusing the couple of buying their way to the top of the fashion world.
The Met has always understood something the rest of the world is finally catching up to. Fashion is art.
Throughout Manhattan, signs of protest and boycott popping up, like these in the subway. And an anti-billionaire group even lining Fifth Avenue with displays of empty water bottles, a nod to allegations about Amazon's workplace conditions.
There are always protests around the Met Gala. At the press conference today, Lauren Sanchez Bezos really underscored her and her husband's charitable giving to fashion in a way that I think was maybe directly addressing some of that criticism.
Longtime co-chair, former American Vogue editor Anna Wintour, also appearing unfazed at a press preview attended by NBC News, touting that this year they raised more than $40 million. The fashion wing of the Met typically relied on this event's $75,000 tickets. The Institute telling NBC News it's now building an endowment to safeguard for the future. The Costume Institute did not answer our question about the controversy around Jeff Bezos and his wife Lauren. Neither did Team Bezos. The night is a who's who of Hollywood, sports, and culture, with co-chairs Nicole Kidman, Venus Williams, and Beyonce making her first return in a decade. Adding to the hype of Wintour's big event, the successful release of The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Sorry, who is this?
The theme here is costume art, how artists have celebrated the human body through the centuries. We got a sneak peek of the new Condé Nast galleries.
All right, let's go check it out.
Tonight on the red carpet, you can expect skin, and more skin, embracing the body in all different forms. An emotional moment for swimsuit designer Sonia Vera, featured in the disabled body section.
As somebody who was in fashion, and then I became disabled about 8.5 years ago. If you would have told me that I would be here, I would have never believed it.
Even with the extra tension this year, through all the glitz and glam, the gala can still make its stamp.
For some people, Chloe Malas, it is their Super Bowl as we're taking a live look at the red carpet. I should note, we showed Anna Wintour. I'm told she's wearing Chanel, a feathered Chanel look for her.
Custom Chanel, Hallie.
What'd you say?
Custom Chanel, not just Chanel. Made for her, Hallie.
I mean, when you're Anna Wintour, that's what's going to happen. What's so interesting here, and I mean, you got it at the piece, is this tension that is inherent in a way that we haven't always seen with the Met Gala before. Talk us through what else we can expect tonight.
I mean, look, there is always going to be criticism of an event like the Met, right? Which is the pomp and the Met Gala pomp and circumstance, the opulence. I mean, let's just put it this way. Tickets start at $75,000, right? And then you have a billionaire at the helm with his new wife. So a lot of people aren't happy about it. But again, I think people are here for the fashion. And what I'm confused by is this morning when I was at the press preview going through the exhibit, you were seeing cleavage and corsets and skin. And really, we are seeing people be a little bit more conservative on the carpet tonight. We're seeing a lot of flowers, a lot of bright pops of color. And that is the whole thing every year at the Met Gala. There is a theme that is encouraged, but people really ultimately wear what they want to wear. It's a moment where you can have your 15 seconds, that photo that is so important as a celebrity, and especially it makes and breaks the careers of fashion designers at the Met Gala. I mean, really, if you wear something that gets you on the best dress list, it can, really catapult you in the fashion industry. And if your celebrity ends up on the worst dress the morning after, Hallie, that is not a headline that you want at all.
You know who gets an award? Shout out to the valiant camera person who is fighting for their lives across the street there of the Met Gala, doing their best to try to give us John Lithgow just a minute ago.
Our executive producer, Joe Belanti, I've said, if you want to send me to the Met, I will only go if I'm on the carpet, Hallie.
What is the carpet this year? Is it yellow brick, like it looks Yellow Brick Road-esque, or what is the theme?
Your guess is as good as mine. It looks like a fairy tale, right? It looks like...
It does. Yes.
Sleeping Beauty. That's what, that is the vibe.
Chloe Malas, appreciate you. Thank you very much for all of it. More to watch, and we'll see those lists tomorrow. Thank you. That does it for us for this hour. We've got a lot more coverage picking up right now. We are coming coming on the air tonight with the brand new details on a shooting here in Washington. An update just in the last 45 minutes after Secret Service says somebody fired at their officers just steps from the Washington Monument. We've got more from police and a live report from the scene in just a second. Plus, some new details on that deadly car ramming in Germany. What police say about the moment that car plowed into a crowd on a busy street there, killing at least 2 people. Plus, what we're hearing from on board that cruise ship, the emotional plea from one passenger. With that ship not allowed to dock, people basically stuck on board because of that rare rodent virus outbreak that's killed at least 3 people. Then breaking news late today. You know that blowout legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni? It ends with a settlement. We've got more on why in just a minute. Then the new sentence for Britney Spears is she's now pleading guilty to reckless driving after her arrest for a DUI last month. That's coming up a little bit later in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie, and we are starting tonight with breaking news here in Washington. In just the last 30 minutes or so, we've learned a man was shot by Secret Service just steps from the Washington Monument, with somebody else, apparently a bystander, caught in the crossfire. Want to show you a map of the scene right near the National Mall. It's on the corner of Independence and 15th. So this is not like super close to the White House, but it is very close to the National Mall. And it's in the same downtown vicinity, basically. Huge, huge tourist area there. Want to show you the scene here, too. You see D.C. police. You see, people milling about right there. Secret Service wants everybody to stay away. They've locked this area down. The deputy director of the Secret Service says the person who shot at the officer there hit, apparently, the bystander. We understand it's a child. He also says it's not clear whether there have been any connections to that recent assassination attempt, of course, to the White House Correspondents' Dinner just 10 days or so ago. Listen to this.
We're patrolling this area, and every site we do 24/7 hardcore. Whether or not it was directed to the president or not, I don't know, but we will find out.
I want to show you some new video now. Our team capturing National Guardsmen running toward the scene, all of it prompting a brief evacuation off the North Lawn at the White House, although reporters have been let back out there. You can hear that's a little bit of it from the White House there. You heard that officer saying, you need to go now, basically. Let me get to Gary Grumbach, who has made his way to the scene. We've gotten an update here from the Secret Service in the last couple of minutes, from law enforcement, et cetera. Walk us through it all.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of who is injured in this case, we do know that a juvenile was injured, being caught in the crossfire, as you mentioned, by the individual that shot the bullet towards this individual. We do know he was treated with non-life-threatening injuries. He's going to be okay. The Secret Service did engage gunfire with this individual who was being suspicious, apparently, for several hours in this area. That person has been transported to the hospital. Of course, we do expect charges to be filed against him in the coming hours as well. As for any Secret Service agents, there were no Secret Service agents that were injured in this incident, even though there were several that were fired upon by this suspicious individual who was tracked first by some plainclothes officers and then was immediately engaged by officers in Secret Service clothing. Hallie.
Do we have any sense, Gary, of the condition of that bystander?
The bystander is a juvenile. We know he's going to be okay. He was treated with non-life-threatening injuries and released on his own recognizance. This is a real touristy area, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
In this area, we're about a half mile from the White House as the crow flies, right near the Washington Monument. Right here, we can show you the White House is this way, Monument's this way. The incident happened right here at this corner. So certainly a ton of tourists. It's spring season. It's 8th grade trip season, right? So a lot of young people in this area at all times here, Hallie.
And no word on any kind of motivation here, right? But we do understand, I think you briefly touched on this, but the VP's motorcade, I think, was going by. We think unrelated. We don't know. That's a question mark.
Yeah, so minutes before this all happened, the vice president was moving across town in a motorcade. So that did happen. We do believe it was completely unrelated to what happened here. And we do believe the suspicious person was in the area and was being tracked by some of these plainclothes officers before the motorcade even went by. So we do believe those were 2 incidents completely unrelated from each other.
Gary Grumbach, and clearly, obviously, a big news story here in Washington as we see those cameras there behind you. Gary, thank you very much. Keep us posted on any other updates. We appreciate you being there. Also tonight, new details on a deadly car ramming overseas. Police say at least 2 people were killed after a driver plowed into a crowd on a busy street in Germany. 2 other people were badly hurt. Big police presence right there, and you can see the smashed car. That's it, the white one, obviously, to the left of your screen. No word on the motive from the suspect, who right now is in police custody. I want to get to Raf Sanchez, who's joining us with more. And Raf, we have some of that new video of somebody on the ground who was getting put into handcuffs after the crash. What do we know about this person, and what do we know about the status of this investigation?
Yeah, Hallie, so police say they arrested the driver of that white SUV. He was behind the wheel of the vehicle when they took him into custody. You see him pinned to the ground there. They say he is a 33-year-old German citizen. They do not know the motivation yet. And Hallie, Germany has extremely strict privacy laws, so it might be some time before we even learn his name, let alone details of the police investigation. But authorities are making clear they believe this was deliberate. They are saying this was a violent rampage. It happened in the center of the city of Leipzig. And I want you to take a listen to a little bit of sound from the mayor describing the mood in his city right now.
I am deeply shocked and can only express my solidarity with the victims' families and note with dismay that 2 people have lost their lives as a result of such an act, which remains incomprehensible to this day and probably always will be.
So the mayor mentioning 2 people killed, 2 more severely wounded, 20 other people affected, authorities are saying. We don't know exactly what that means. It may be shock. It may be people who suffered minor injuries when they were running away from the scene. Hallie, this would have been shocking under any circumstances, but it is especially so because this is the 4th car ramming attack in Germany in less than 2 years. You might remember back in December 2024, a suspect rammed a car into a Christmas market in the city of Magdeburg. That killed 6 people. And then last year, there were 2 separate attacks just 2 weeks apart. One of them in Munich, one of them in Mannheim. And if you go back 10 years, Hallie, there was an ISIS attack in Berlin, again at a Christmas market, that killed a dozen people. That was the worst terror attack in Germany in decades. Very wide range of motivations across these attacks. Some of it Islamist jihadist terrorism, some of it right-wing extremism. In some cases, Hallie, just mental health, severe mental health problems. We do not know at this stage the motivation behind the ramming earlier today in Leipzig. Hallie.
Raf Sanchez, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed on all of it. Appreciate it. President Trump, back here in Washington, has a new threat now out against Iran, saying in an interview with Fox News that the country will be, in his words, blown off the face of the earth if it attacks ships, American ships, that are guiding other ships through the Strait of Hormuz. That's right after the U.S. said it blew up Iranian helicopters and boats in response to Iranian attacks on ships in the Strait. All of it is raising questions. If you're like, what does that mean? The ceasefire is still intact or not? It's raising questions about that very thing. Here's what we do know, though, that the national average for gas prices has spiked like 50% since the war against Iran started. In California, one part of it, gas is officially hitting $7 a gallon. And listen, we get it. California's always got higher gas than the rest of the country. But how about the Midwest? Look at Indiana. The average cost for a gallon of gas is up $1 in the last week. Think about that. A week ago, you go to fill up. Maybe it's now time a week later. You've done your commutes. You go to fill up again. It's $1 more. All across the country, people are telling our teams they're really feeling it.
It's horrible. I know I can't deal with it.
So it sucks. Unfortunately, I think we're getting close to the point where people aren't going to be able to do it anymore.
For people who got to go to work and landscapers and whatnot, it's got to be crazy.
I want to get to Maggie Vespa, who's live for us in Chicago, in the Midwest there. There's a bunch of factors playing into this, Maggie, and people are not happy about it.
Right. Yeah, Hallie, for sure. I mean, you talk about the impact of the war in Iran. Obviously, that's being felt nationwide, as you laid out. But here in the Midwest, it's a really interesting and clearly impactful mixed bag, because we also have the storyline of this key refinery in Whiting, Indiana. It's a BP refinery that went down over the weekend, stopped functioning. BP now saying it's due to a power outage that actually just brought the entire plant down. They say they've now fixed it. It's back up. But that's a big reason why you're seeing these massive spikes in particular, really across the Midwest, including Indiana, obviously, also Michigan, Wisconsin, and here in Illinois. In fact, some key counties our team zeroed in on In Ohio and Kentucky, they've seen nearly 90% spikes in the price of gas since the war began, and a lot of that because of this refinery outage, a lot of it spiking in the last week or so. Here in Chicago behind me, $5.79 a gallon here at this Mobil. This is in the city. It's topping $6 in some parts of Chicago, and people tell us they've been filling up their tanks, and a lot of them not filling up fully, just putting in like 10 to 15 bucks what they need to get by. They say the fact that the war is exacerbating this so much here and nationwide, that adds another layer of frustration. Check this out.
I hope things go down back to normal, because gas is something we all rely on. It's like our compulsory thing for every day. Yeah, I hope it doesn't go bad, but I don't see anything getting better. It's getting worse.
Yeah, obviously everybody feeling that tension. Hallie, just in the last week or so to kind of drive this home Midwest-wise, the average price for a gallon of gas up 60 cents here in Chicago just in the last week. It's been a rough week here in the Midwest.
And it's a big spike. And listen, the driving factor behind it, as you have laid out there, is that war against Iran, which is also potentially going to have a ripple effect. Experts are warning about this kind of second wave, not on gas, but on a lot of other stuff you need, like your groceries.
Yeah, exactly. One economist called gas prices kind of the opening act of this massive ripple effect across our entire economy. And they say obviously gas goes into the price of a number of goods, whether it comes with delivering those goods or in their production. You can see groceries with plastic packaging, personal care items, so think like beauty items, also medicine, aluminum, obviously prescription medicine. And one economist said this could take months to really play out, saying potentially we could see the prices of a lot of these just everyday consumer goods spiking in conjunction with the busy back-to-school shopping season, obviously hurting a lot of these families all the more. Hallie.
Maggie Vespa live for us there in Chicago. Thank you very much. Also tonight, we'll take you to Oklahoma, where police are trying to figure out who started shooting at a campground party with 12 people now in the hospital. Here's some audio from dispatch as the whole thing was going down.
There's a shooting. There's going to be multiple victims. One with the gun to the head.
I want to show you some video that appears to show the party before the shooting happened. Officials say in all, 23 people were hurt. Ryan Chandler has made his way to Edmond, Oklahoma. He is live for us now near the scene. Bring us up to speed on the investigation.
Well, Hallie, we're learning more details from people who were there last night. We spoke with witnesses, very young people, 18 and 19 years old, who said they were attending a party along with some 250 other young people, and that's when gunshots rang out. Hallie, it is one thing to hear the already appalling numbers behind this shooting. At least 23 people injured, many of them very young. But then you hear the very disturbing details of what it was actually like to be in that panic, in that chaos. One man told us that he actually ran into the lake to avoid the gunfire. One of his friends showed us where he was hit. He says that he believes that he was hit in his hip as this chaos rang out. I want you to listen to a little of their testimony here.
I see so many young girls in pain, screaming, crying for help. I don't know where shots are coming from. Yeah. It was like 25 shots coming from different areas. Wow.
They returned to the scene in confusion, trying to get answers as well today, all as the police are still looking for who may have pulled the trigger. It's unclear whether they're looking for one or multiple suspects, but they have not released any more clarity about the status of that investigation as we go into the evening. Hallie.
Okay. Ryan Chandler, keep us posted. Thank you very much for being there. Got to get this some breaking news just into us in the last maybe 90 minutes. This fight, it's like legal fight between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. It's been going on for a couple of years since their movie came out in 2024. It's hit a fever pitch, but now late tonight, a settlement after this years-long battle. The case was supposed to go to trial just weeks from now. We don't know what the settlement terms are yet, but remember, keep in mind that this has been dragged out now for a little bit. The whole thing is after Lively accused Baldoni of sexual harassment during the production of It Ends With Us. Lively alleged Baldoni's production company then retaliated against her after she complained about the alleged misconduct on the set of the film. Baldoni has repeatedly denied Lively's claims. Tonight, we have something interesting here. Despite the bitter battle between the two, a joint statement from both of their attorneys saying, you see it here, we remain firmly committed to workplaces free of improprieties and unproductive environments. I want to bring in our legal analyst, Danny Savalos, now. this thing was going to go to trial in a matter of weeks. Is it surprising to you that they've come to a settlement here? Is the timing interesting? Give us your put your lawyer hat on and walk us through it.
No surprise whatsoever. The vast majority of civil cases settle before trial, and often it takes getting to the eve of trial for the parties to get real, because especially in civil cases, because the burden is just 51%, it truly is the closest thing to a coin flip for both sides. And it is a very, very expensive coin flip, one that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars for these litigants to eventually leave it in the hands of a jury after they've assured their own mutually assured destruction through damaging testimony from both sides.
What would the terms look like here? And I know I'm asking you to be a little bit speculative because we don't have them yet. But in a case like this, do we have any sense of like what the numbers would be like? I think she'd been asking, I believe, for like $100 million in trial, right? In damages.
Yeah, I will definitely speculate because we will likely never know what the terms of this agreement are. It probably is covered by many confidentiality clauses. And here's the thing, Hallie, don't be surprised if this was what we call a walkaway. This happens all the time in emotionally charged litigation like this, where you have individuals who are wealthy who are basically fueling this and paying for this litigation. A walkaway is where after you've both spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on attorney's fees, you say, you know what? Let's just walk away. Everyone bears their own costs. I wouldn't be surprised if not $1 changed hands.
That's so interesting. Okay, Danny Savalos, thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate it. Thanks. Also tonight, the airline formerly known as Spirit says everything's got to go. They told a bankruptcy court late today that they fought valiantly to reorganize, but instead they had no alternative to an orderly wind down of operation, in their words. In everybody else's words, the sudden collapse of Spirit obviously left tons of people stranded with huge questions after the shutdown early Saturday morning. Some people finding that out when they showed up at the airport. Listen to this.
We had to call one of our uncles so if he can help us pay for the next flight because we did not have any money.
I just waited for my next flight and it got canceled and the bags were somewhere inside the airport.
The affordableness that I was enjoying is now gone away, has been ripped from underneath of me.
Some airlines seem to be sensing an opportunity here, like JetBlue, for example, reminding folks they plan to expand service out of Fort Lauderdale to 11 more cities. Fort Lauderdale, of course, was a big hub for Spirit. They're going to put in place more than 24 new flights. JetBlue will also honor rewards points for some Spirit loyalty members. Let me bring in Tom Costello, who's covering this all for us. Here's the thing. At this point, it's Monday afternoon. So if you were flying somewhere in Spirit this weekend, you probably, it's the memo, you've gotten the memo that you cannot get home. You probably bought another flight. You pay it out the nose. Maybe you got one of these deals that some of these other airlines are offering. But at this point, when do we start to see the impact, maybe across the board, considering Spirit has now shuttered? That reduces competition for other airlines. So no matter what you fly, your prices could go up.
Yeah, that's right. But in context here, Spirit is not the player it used to be, right? They only had about 1.1% of the entire domestic market. But here is the list of the most affected airports, the airports that Spirit had the biggest presence in. That includes Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Newark, Detroit, LaGuardia, Houston, Vegas, Dallas, Chicago, Atlanta, Baltimore also on that list. And so, yeah, if in and out of these cities, you're going to feel it a little bit more acutely. By the way, Atlantic City, New Jersey, 75% of their air service came from Spirit. So they're really right now struggling and hoping that they're going to get more service now from Breeze, that other low-cost carrier.
By its own acknowledgement, by what it said itself, Spirit blamed in part the rising jet fuel costs. And that is because, of course, of this war against Iran. The Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, had a different take on what is to blame for Spirit's demise. He's pointing the finger at his predecessor, Pete Buttigieg, because he denied that JetBlue merger. Watch this.
We do want choices. We do want competition. That gives us the best price as consumers. But he made the wrong call, right? If he had taken a deep dive into Spirit and into JetBlue, he would have seen that merger would have been better for customers.
Buttigieg's reaction to that is like giving a very different kind of gut check.
You know, it could be that both are true in a way. I mean, first of all, in the court filing itself today, the bankruptcy court filing, Spirit cited essentially the war and the high cost of jet fuel. They're also in their second bankruptcy. Now, is it possible that in hindsight, maybe that JetBlue merger might have saved jobs? It's possible. But keeping in mind, the Biden administration was interested and concerned about the loss of competition, driving up airfares and reducing options for passengers. You know, it may be one of those things where both sides, there's a nugget of truth to both sides here.
And Buttigieg responding, too, saying he can't lower gas prices by blurting out the names of a few Democrats. You see it here. The administration, he says, needs to stop its policies creating so much economic pain. There's also this thing. You may have come across it perhaps on your feed, Tom. I don't know if it's your algorithm, but certainly maybe some of our viewers. Spirit 2.0, this website that 88 million people allegedly have pledged. I should say 124,000 people have pledged $88 million. How about that? There's the numbers. To fix Spirit, to try to bring Spirit back. So many people that the whole site crashed. Here's the guy who started the whole thing. He sure thinks he can pull it off.
This is a genius idea. We nationalize Spirit Airlines, owned by the people. Airline's gone. We make a new airline. Let's buy an airline.
I mean, Spirit in the sky. You heard it in the background.
I like the music.
Could this have any chance?
Listen, I doubt it, and here's why I say that. The government was talking about a $500 million essentially bailout lifeline, and the creditors said no. But keep in mind, Spirit owes a lot of companies and a lot of people a lot of money, right? Almost every one of their planes is leased. They've got to make good on all of that debt. And the creditors finally said, we can't be sure that we're going to, if they were to take the government lifeline, for example, they couldn't be sure that they would eventually get paid themselves. Bottom line here is that those creditors want this to go through bankruptcy court. They want as much money on their dollar as they can get.
All right. I mean, we'll see.
We'll see.
Tom Costello.
Stranger things. This is America. Stranger things have happened.
Appreciate you. So listen, we got to get to a new update now on that cruise ship that's basically in the Atlantic, unable to dock because of the deadly rare rodent virus outbreak. Turns out there's now 7 total cases of hantavirus on board that ship, according to the World Health Organization, in just the last couple of minutes. So now you've got basically 150 people stuck on board off the coast of West Africa because, again, the ship's not docking. One passenger is kind of emotionally here detailing what it's like to be on board. Again, 3 people have been killed. Watch.
And what's happening right now is very real for all of us here. There's a lot of uncertainty, and that's the hardest part. All we want right now is to feel safe, to have clarity, and to get home.
Humans typically get hantavirus from infected rodents, and it can be pretty serious. According to the CDC, about 35% of infections can be deadly. I want to bring in Camila Bernal, who's joining us now. A horrific situation here. The cruise operator says the ship may try to get to a dock like around the Canary Islands. What is going on? Where does this go?
Well, Hallie, you said it. They're stuck. There's really nowhere for them to go right now because officials are saying they have to coordinate with health experts, but also with local authorities to make sure that it's safe to get this entire ship off of board, essentially. And so what authorities are saying is that it could take some time as they continue to investigate. They say there are medical personnel on board to help the people that are currently symptomatic. And then we have a timeline, essentially, of what happened, because first it was a 70-year-old man who died. Then his wife, a 69-year-old woman, they're both from the Netherlands. She had gotten off the boat and then she dies. Then a third person dies, which is the German passenger. And there's one person who's at the hospital right now. And we know that there are the 2 crew members who are stuck on that ship who are symptomatic at the moment. And so, again, the big question is, did they get this before they got on the boat, or was this something that spread while they were on the boat? And authorities just trying to figure out all of this as they test to make sure that it is this virus that's impacting so many people on this ship. Hallie.
It has certainly put a spotlight, or I should say a renewed spotlight, on hantavirus. This, of course, is the virus people might remember, more common in the Southwest. Gene Hackman's wife, I believe, died from it. I think it was just about 2 years ago now, or a year ago. The transmissibility of it, I mean, I'm struck by how shaken that passenger that we showed you was. I mean, they just want to know they're safe. They can't know that right now. What are experts saying? Like, what is the transmissibility of this thing?
Yeah, so it's rare. It's usually small outbreaks, but what experts say is that when they do happen, it's about a 40% chance of death. So it is extremely serious because this could progress to the point where you die, essentially. So it is serious, but what experts are also saying is that once they determine where it is and what it is, it's easy to clean and kill the virus. So a lot of experts do believe that the people on the ship are safe, at least relatively safe at the moment. Here's what one doctor told us.
So for people who aren't on this cruise and aren't in close contact with these people, there is really no risk to them at all because it is such a confined disease and such a confined area that the risk is minimal outside of that area.
And so experts believe that the variant that infected these people is one that could result in person-to-person spread. Now, the thing is that they do have to be in very close quarters. And so now that the people that have died have been essentially taken off the boat, and then you have the more serious people also at the hospital, and then likely the two that are still symptomatic, secluded from everyone else, that's why experts say the risk is probably relatively low for the people on the ship and obviously also the people off the ship that encountered some of these passengers as they got on and off the ship. Hallie.
Camila Bernal, thank you for staying on top of this for us. Appreciate that. Still ahead for us on the show, why Broadway performances of the Book of Mormon could go dark for a while. Plus, the race to rescue survivors after a stunning plane crash in Brazil. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, officials say 2 people are dead, 2 others badly hurt after a small plane crashed into a building in Brazil. You see the aftermath here. The plane just totally destroyed. No word yet on what happened. Number 2, the Supreme Court has temporarily restored nationwide access to the abortion pill mifepristone by mail. That's just days after a lower court ruled that people have to go to the doctors in person to try to get it. The pause is going to give the higher court some time to consider next steps in this case and what could be one of the first major rulings on abortion since 2022. Number 3, the Book of Mormon's home on Broadway is going to have to be shut down for repairs after a fire at that theater. Luckily, no performances were happening when that fire occurred, but officials say an electrical room was damaged. They're still looking into it. Number 4, Dolly Parton is out today with what she's calling some good news and a little bad news. The bad news? She's got to cancel her Las Vegas residency because of her health. She rescheduled some of those dates last year for the same reason. That's a bummer, but here's the good news. She says she is responding well to her treatments. That is good. She's just not quite ready to return to the stage just yet. A lot of people thinking about Dolly. They're really pulling for her. Number 5, check this out. A very rare rainbow cloud in Indonesia. Look at this. It's like neon. It's amazing to look at. Meteorologists say most of the time it happens without rain, when the sun hits a cloud at a certain angle and then little ice crystals inside the clouds scatter the sun's light. Very incredible. Also tonight, one of President Trump's closest confidants is in the hospital, apparently with pneumonia. A spokesperson for the former New York City mayor, Rudy Giuliani, says his illness is complicated by a prior diagnosis of restrictive airway disease, which he says Giuliani got partly because of what he did on September 11th. Obviously, Giuliani, the mayor at the time. For his part, President Trump calls Giuliani a true warrior and alluded to Giuliani's failed push to try to overturn the 2020 election while working as the president's personal attorney. Of course, a push that was based on an election fraud lie. The former mayor, is 81. He seemed a little bit sick or showed some signals that he maybe wasn't feeling 100% during a live stream on Friday. Watch this.
And my voice is a little under the weather.
Ryan Riley is joining me now. What else do we know?
So we have this expert who says, we've seen some of these 9/11 related symptoms come up. Take a listen.
We see 9/11 related syndromes in anywhere from 10 to 30% of workers and people exposed to the incidents around 9/11. It is not unusual to see this restrictive airway disease kind of manifest and demonstrate itself decades after an inciting event.
So she's basically saying, Dr. Patel, there, that it could be 20 years later, 25 years later, that we see something like this.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what the spokesperson is telling us, that this was, potentially related to that incident there. But, obviously it's good news for him and his family that he's breathing on his own, as before he was not able to do that by his own. So there seems to be some improvement, but they still say he's in critical but stable condition.
Okay, and no timeline at all yet on if and when he'd be released from the hospital. Okay, got it. Ryan Riley, thank you for that update. Appreciate that. Today, in other news, too, Britney Spears pleading guilty to reckless driving after her DUI arrest in L.A. last month. She was sentenced to a year of probation and a night of jail, which amounts to time served. She'll also have to attend a substance abuse program. She wasn't required to appear herself in court, but her attorney did speak for her, saying that she has taken significant steps to put in place positive change. She just got out of a rehab program she put herself in after the arrest. Police say they found both alcohol and drugs in her system. In an incident that was pretty worrying for her fans. They were already a little concerned by Spears's apparently erratic behavior online. She'd been posting videos of her dancing, sometimes with knives, etc. Liz Kreutz is following this one. She failed her sobriety test, right? But there's some questions of the alcohol limit and sort of where she was on that. How did the judge decide this sentence today?
Yeah. Hey, Hallie. So, she did fail her sobriety test at the scene when she was arrested in early March. Authorities have never confirmed her exact blood alcohol level or whether she was actually over the legal limit. But she did show signs of impairment at the scene, and that is what then led to her arrest. A judge did accept this plea deal. As you mentioned, what it's actually specifically here in California called a wet reckless charge. It's essentially a lesser offense tied to alcohol. And because he agreed to that plea deal, that is what led her to avoid more jail time. She already served the 1 day required when she was arrested. Britney Spears' attorney, as you mentioned, did put out a statement saying she has taken significant steps to implement positive change, which is clearly reflected in the district attorney's decision to reduce the charge in this case and dismiss the DUI. And he went on to say Britney appreciates this discretion and is also grateful for the outpouring of support she's received.
It was also interesting to hear them cite her rehab stint as part of this, too, right? Because she checked into rehab pretty much right after her arrest.
Yeah, and that was a significant part, from my understanding, of why they ultimately did accept this plea and gave her this lesser charge because she showed that she was taking it seriously. She was working to take steps to make sure this wouldn't happen again. She checked herself into rehab. They took that into account, as well as the fact that this is her first offense. So that was another factor here. And I will also point out, Hallie, that a rep for Britney Spears after the arrest did say that hopefully this is going to be a first step in long overdue change that needs to occur in Britney's life. It went on to say her boys are going to be spending more time with her. Her loved ones are going to come up with an overdue needed plan to set her up for success for well-being.
Liz Kreutz, live for us there in L.A. Liz, thank you very much for that. The state of emergency tonight in New Jersey with a big fire shutting down schools in one town. White crews say the threat isn't over yet. Plus, Luigi Mangione's name is popping up in another court case. We'll tell you why some are calling it the Mangione effect, well beyond his own trials. That's next. So what's being called the Mangione effect tonight after prosecutors say the man accused of setting the devastating Palisades fire in California was, in their words, fixated on Luigi Mangione, the man accused of killing, of course, the United Healthcare CEO. It's not just him. A different man charged in connection to another big fire at a paper products warehouse in California allegedly compared himself to Mangione. Remember, his alleged killing, Mangione's, of the United Healthcare leader, set off a big wave of public outrage against the American health insurance industry. And it's created a kind of, almost fandom, you could say, for Mangione himself. Look at all these are different court appearances from back last couple months Mangione has had. People show up outside with posters. Some people have like Mangione merch, basically. We've heard from court that they've sent him like little heart-shaped notes of support like this. Steve Patterson is following this story for us. And now you have others being accused of heinous crimes, citing Mangione, right? I mean, talk about the Palisades fire connection here.
Yeah, so this is, remember, 30-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht. He's accused of lighting the fire that rekindled, eventually spread into the Palisades, did billions of dollars of damage, destroyed whole neighborhoods, killed 12 people. Horrific stuff. Look, some of this we know, and this is all from this pretrial memorandum in regards to the trial that he's going to be facing. A lot of it is just about how angry he was. Prosecutors say he was really upset because of a failed romantic relationship and then therefore didn't have a companion for New Year's Eve. And remember, the guy accused, he was an Uber driver at the time of the fire. So passengers have said things like he was angry at the world, that he was driving erratically, that he was acting erratically, that he was ranting, and partially, according to this new document, partially ranting about Luigi Mangione and his trial. Part of this memorandum says that he had Google searches like free Luigi Mangione, let's kill all the billionaires, that he was really into this eat the rich sort of ethos, telling investigators when they arrested him, they asked him, hey, who would set a fire like this? And he said, that's what happens when the CEO, when people get desperate, is what he alluded to. When people are getting desperate, crimes of this nature happen. And so just sort of going off into this Mangione theory, there was also a ChatGPT search where he's sort of refining a search to make a GPT image that shows the rich watching a city burn, which, according to this document and prosecutors, almost looks exactly like what happened to the Palisades. Very stark, very startling. His attorney says this is all hooey, essentially, that none of this really fits with the profile of a person that's trying to burn a city down. He called this reason for a motive essentially not a reason for a motive, and saying that his maintains the innocence, of his client there, Hallie.
Well, what else can you tell us about some of these other cases that fall under this umbrella of the so-called Mangione effect?
Yeah, look, I mean, again, these are all tangentially related. Some of them, some of these people actually incited his name. Others are sort of just tangentially tied to it, right? So you see the first one, the Palisades fire. The second one there, remember, this is this Massachusetts woman, 2025, accused of driving to the Capitol, trying to kill GOP leaders, saying that she was on a mission and partially influenced by Mangione. The NFL shooting, that was something that prosecutors tried to tie because of the similar styling, of course, of the shooting, specifically like leaving behind sort of a breadcrumb trail for investigators, similar to what Mangione did. And then this fourth one is the one that you were talking about, this warehouse fire, $500 million worth of product burned down. The guy is filming himself burning certain products, talking about sort of the plight of capitalism and referencing sort of Mangione as the style for what he did. Of course, the U.S. attorney has come out against this, saying that these political activities that are tied or influenced by Mangione should stop. Mangione himself, even before all of this, before or right after the White House Correspondents' Dinner, his attorney released a statement saying, essentially, keep my name out of your mouth. Mangione had nothing to do with this. He does not endorse this political violence. Whether that's part, of course, of the trial, remains to be seen, as, of course, all of these people that we mentioned, the warehouse, the Palisades fire, Mangione himself, have upcoming trials in the next recent months. Hallie.
Steve Patterson, super interesting. Thank you for bringing this one to us tonight, friend. Good to see you.
You bet.
NBC News covers hundreds of other stories every day. And because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going on in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Northeast Bureau, schools in a New Jersey town were forced to close today because of, well, you're looking at it. Police say this fire started at a mattress warehouse and then spread to some other buildings Sunday. Fire is now contained, but it's still really smoky, so that's a factor that they're dealing with. Out of our Midwest Bureau, zoos across Ohio are on high alert after a string of bomb threats were called in. All of them hoaxes, police said. But officials say they're swatting incidents, basically. The Cleveland Zoo even had to be evacuated yesterday. So now the FBI is getting involved. They're looking into it. Also out of our Southern Bureau, our first look at some of the 1,500 rescued beagles looking for a new home. Animal welfare activists say they negotiated a deal to buy the dogs from a research facility in Wisconsin and send them to Florida. You might remember that's after about, several hundred protesters clashed with police a few weeks back trying to free the dogs. The activist group says it's hoping to get all these beagles adopted. They say they've gotten 700 applications already. Coming up here on the show, our team's inside look at the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. What at least one ICE employee says happened when she tried to push back on the word scumbags. That's next. Tonight, new details from workers inside ICE and the Department of Homeland Security who raised red flags that some policies could lead to picking up the wrong people as part of what the White House called the largest deportation force in U.S. history. Here's one example. An ICE employee trying to push back on ICE's demands was fired, she says, and escorted out of her office by armed guards because she says she refused to call immigrants who are alleged gang members scumbags in a press release. She shared her story with our senior Homeland Security correspondent, Julia Ainsley, who's joining us now for Julia's new book, Undue Process. And we're so glad to have you with us, Julia, as you're talking about everything in this book. One of many stories of ways that immigration enforcement behind the scenes has taken shape, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, really, Hallie, you know, I've covered immigration since 2014, but what we saw in 2025 was so different. As you know, the pace was just relentless. And people I started to speak to inside DHS said that they found a culture where it became harder and harder to push back. I even detail a time where Kristi Noem is introducing her right-hand man, Corey Lewandowski, and telling ICE leaders that they don't start arresting more people, he will rip your face off. We assume that was a metaphorical threat, but that's just the kind of culture inside. So I spoke to one woman who was a press officer. She was career. She'd worked in DHS and in government for a long time. And she says that there was a day where she said, "What if we're wrong?" And it's because she was told to use the word scumbags in a press release detailing immigrants who had been arrested for alleged gang membership. But she said, we can't really prove that they're part of the gang. What if we're wrong? She believes that this is the reason for her firing that came soon after. And she said that her termination papers said that it was for a failure to authorize a press release and a press conference. Now, people I spoke to at DHS, they didn't directly to respond to this, but they said she was fired for failure to do her job.
What about this professor you spoke with who paid a professional price, apparently, for something that he told reporters?
Yeah, that's right. There was this amazing day of access, actually, where we got to go down to ICE headquarters and interview the ICE director and learn how they were training new recruits. They wanted 10,000 new recruits by the end of the year. And that was right at the time where the raids in D.C. and Chicago had gotten to such a point where we're seeing a lot of car windows being broken. And I asked this professor who was training the new recruits, what kind of evidence do you need that someone's committed a crime before you break their window? And he said that they needed reasonable suspicion that they had broken a car window. And you can see this here on page 20 of my book. You'll see he told me, I said it was reasonable suspicion and that the person must be undocumented and the reason must be beyond their skin color or native language. That professor, Hallie, was reassigned that very afternoon for what he told reporters.
Julia Ainsley, that is just those just a couple of things that people can find out when they read your new book, Undue Process. It comes out tomorrow. We are glad to have you here today, Julia, as I know you're up in New York promoting this thing. We appreciate you. Thank you for your reporting and for your time. Still to come, we are taking you back to New York for fashion's biggest night. It is here, and so is the controversy why the Bezos-backed Met Gala has triggered some boycotts. As you take a live look now at the carpet, there's some looks. There's some dresses. Getting into that in a second. To our original now, and for it, the first Monday in May, you know what we have to do. Take you to the Met Gala, where they are just starting to walk the carpet. Is that, I think that's Zoe Kravitz peeking through there? Did I catch a glimpse? What is our camera like across the street? Is that a bus walking through? I think it is. NBC, I guess we didn't get a great spot on the carpet this year, but hey, it's something. Look, okay, live stream. Here we go. Now we're closer. Very exciting. A lot of drama, a lot of looks. But did I say a lot of drama? Because there is a lot of drama. It's the celebrities turning heads, but it's also Jeff Bezos and his wife, Lauren Sanchez Bezos. That's Anna Wintour, by the way, arriving in a, I'm not going to try to describe that that dress or this one. I think it's Schiaparelli, I believe, but there's Lauren Sanchez Bezos. She and her husband, of course, making a big donation. They were named honorary chairs of the Met Gala this year, but you can see what that triggered. Calls for boycotts, subway ads hacked, and more. All of it putting a new spotlight on what happens behind the scenes of fashion's biggest night. Chloe Malas reports.
The Met Gala dubbed the party of the year. where the rich and famous celebrate celebrity and art and fashion too. This year, the focus not just on millionaire stars, but the event's billionaire funders. Lead sponsors Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and his wife Lauren Sanchez Bezos named honorary co-chairs. When the announcement was made that they donated a reported $10 million to the museum's Costume Institute, the backlash was swift, with some accusing the couple of buying their way to the top of the fashion world.
The Met has always understood something the rest of the world is finally catching up to. Fashion is art.
Throughout Manhattan, signs of protest and boycott popping up, like these in the subway. And an anti-billionaire group even lining Fifth Avenue with displays of empty water bottles, a nod to allegations about Amazon's workplace conditions.
There are always protests around the Met Gala. At the press conference today, Lauren Sanchez Bezos really underscored her and her husband's charitable giving to fashion in a way that I think was maybe directly addressing some of that criticism.
Longtime co-chair, former American Vogue editor Anna Wintour, also appearing unfazed at a press preview attended by NBC News, touting that this year they raised more than $40 million. The fashion wing of the Met typically relied on this event's $75,000 tickets. The Institute telling NBC News it's now building an endowment to safeguard for the future. The Costume Institute did not answer our question about the controversy around Jeff Bezos and his wife Lauren. Neither did Team Bezos. The night is a who's who of Hollywood, sports, and culture, with co-chairs Nicole Kidman, Venus Williams, and Beyonce making her first return in a decade. Adding to the hype of Wintour's big event, the successful release of The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Sorry, who is this?
The theme here is costume art, how artists have celebrated the human body through the centuries. We got a sneak peek of the new Condé Nast galleries.
All right, let's go check it out.
Tonight on the red carpet, you can expect skin, and more skin, embracing the body in all different forms. An emotional moment for swimsuit designer Sonia Vera, featured in the disabled body section.
As somebody who was in fashion, and then I became disabled about 8.5 years ago. If you would have told me that I would be here, I would have never believed it.
Even with the extra tension this year, through all the glitz and glam, the gala can still make its stamp.
For some people, Chloe Malas, it is their Super Bowl as we're taking a live look at the red carpet. I should note, we showed Anna Wintour. I'm told she's wearing Chanel, a feathered Chanel look for her.
Custom Chanel, Hallie.
What'd you say?
Custom Chanel, not just Chanel. Made for her, Hallie.
I mean, when you're Anna Wintour, that's what's going to happen. What's so interesting here, and I mean, you got it at the piece, is this tension that is inherent in a way that we haven't always seen with the Met Gala before. Talk us through what else we can expect tonight.
I mean, look, there is always going to be criticism of an event like the Met, right? Which is the pomp and the Met Gala pomp and circumstance, the opulence. I mean, let's just put it this way. Tickets start at $75,000, right? And then you have a billionaire at the helm with his new wife. So a lot of people aren't happy about it. But again, I think people are here for the fashion. And what I'm confused by is this morning when I was at the press preview going through the exhibit, you were seeing cleavage and corsets and skin. And really, we are seeing people be a little bit more conservative on the carpet tonight. We're seeing a lot of flowers, a lot of bright pops of color. And that is the whole thing every year at the Met Gala. There is a theme that is encouraged, but people really ultimately wear what they want to wear. It's a moment where you can have your 15 seconds, that photo that is so important as a celebrity, and especially it makes and breaks the careers of fashion designers at the Met Gala. I mean, really, if you wear something that gets you on the best dress list, it can, really catapult you in the fashion industry. And if your celebrity ends up on the worst dress the morning after, Hallie, that is not a headline that you want at all.
You know who gets an award? Shout out to the valiant camera person who is fighting for their lives across the street there of the Met Gala, doing their best to try to give us John Lithgow just a minute ago.
Our executive producer, Joe Belanti, I've said, if you want to send me to the Met, I will only go if I'm on the carpet, Hallie.
What is the carpet this year? Is it yellow brick, like it looks Yellow Brick Road-esque, or what is the theme?
Your guess is as good as mine. It looks like a fairy tale, right? It looks like...
does. Yes.
Sleeping Beauty. That's what, that is the vibe.
Chloe Malas. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for all of it. More to watch, and we'll see those lists tomorrow. Thank you. That does it for us for this hour. We've got a lot more coverage picking up right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.